Hello. Good evening, y'all. It's too much Leo in the sky, and so that means I need to run my mouth. And it also means that I have a lot to say. I have so much to say. I have so much to say. If you were just on Twitter, I was on that space yelling and running my mouth. Raw honeyed 5 fights. Listen, y'all know when I get fired up, I can't. What I really want is for us to not even engage disingenuous takes. Let's normalize saying the quiet part loud. Let's normalize saying the quiet part loud, that any cisgender woman who seeks to strip trans women of their womanhood are literally only doing so because they want the favor of patriarchy. That's literally it. They want to be accepted by patriarchy. Anyways, that's what I had to say on there. And now we're here to talk about Mercury retrograde. Let's do it, girls. Oh, best believe though, Chunky Warlock says some people genuinely don't know they're delusional or incorrect. It's sad. And best believe I'm going to quickly use my time and energy to remind folks that they're delusional, right? Because the stakes are death. The stakes are death. Those are the stakes. The stakes are not intellectual. The stakes aren't even emotional. The stakes are death. Those are the stakes, right? Those are the stakes that all of these conversations are rooted in, is death. Insane wonderland. Let's do it, girls. Exactly like that. Hey, Eric. Hello, Sleight of Time. Strawberry Moons. Hello. Gather around. Take a seat. Now, just know that I'm going to have to feed my child soon. And so I'm going to have to take y'all to the kitchen with me once I figure out what to feed my child. Y'all, I'm tired of cooking. Anyways, Mercury retrograde season. Did you know that Mercury retrograde was a season? Did you know that Mercury retrograde was not just the actual moment that Mercury starts moving backwards? It's not just the degrees of the shadow. Mercury retrograde season is a thematic time period governed by the signs that Mercury is going to spend its retrograde journey in. And you lucky boys and girls are the recipients of a Mercury retrograde that is solely in tropical Leo. Now, I dropped a post on my page here on Instagram giving you some details about this retrograde. In the actual image are the dates of this whole Mercury retrograde situation, which I will reshare verbally here. So Mercury enters Sidereal Leo today. Mercury enters its retrograde shadow, 13 degrees Leo, on August 3rd. And Mercury stations retrograde at 27 degrees Leo on August 23rd. Mercury stations direct at 13 degrees Leo on September 15th. And Mercury exits its shadow, 27 degrees Leo, September 29th. But that is not the end of the Mercury retrograde. The end of the Mercury retrograde. Hey, Emerald. The end of the Mercury retrograde is October 1st. Yes, October 1st. That is the day that Mercury leaves Leo and goes into Virgo. So yes, my friends, you have heard that absolutely right. Mercury retrograde season covers summer and fall. And it begins today, July 24th, and it is all of September, all of August, all the way through October 1st. This Mercury retrograde is part of our 125 days of Sidereal Leo. That is another post on my page that you should have seen. And I provided some affirmations for 125 days of Leo. So let's start with these affirmations. Okay? I reject the projections and identity assignments of others without creating false narratives of who I am. With all of this conversation happening today, do you see the relevance of this affirmation? I reject the projections and identity assignments that others put on me without creating false narratives of who I am. And the second affirmation for 125 days of Sidereal Leo is, I find safety in my self-regard while recognizing the call towards more impact and influence in the minds of others and the world at large. If you're just joining, I am sharing with you 2 affirmations I wrote for us, you, me, boo, for 125 days of Sidereal Leo transits. Yes, June 30th, all the way through November 2nd. Now, we need to go back in time because I know you guys are like, I'm not a Leo. I don't have Leo, or Leo is my this house. Leo is my that house. My mama's a Leo. I don't like Leos. My ex is a Leo. Fuck Leos, right? That's usually how we engage with zodiac signs. But I'm about to give you the keys to the kingdom here. The kingdom being your own psyche, your own mind, your own life, your own timeline. We need to go back in time to 2016 and 2017. So, 2016. I'm about to pull it up, this app. Let's go back to 2016. Jupiter was in Leo. The nodes were in Leo and Aquarius. We had eclipses in Leo and Aquarius. And we had this little juicy, this little sumptuous, this little, we had this little Leo stellium, August and September of 2016. So, my friends, August and September of 2016, what were you doing? Think about it. Now, 2017, same time. August and September of 2017. Now, August 21st of 2017, we had a total solar eclipse that was visible across a wide swath of the United States at 3 degrees Leo, which just so happens to be conjunct the degree where Venus gestation retrograde at 4 degrees Leo. But this whole sign deals with this theme of this question I ask all the time. Whose vision determines what you see? When you look at a human and you are drawing assumptions about their identity, about their gender identity, about their racial identity, whose vision determines what you see, not only in the gender identity or racial identity that you assign them, but in terms of the assumptions that you make about that person based on their gender identity or racial identity. And who told you that when you look at another person, you need to figure out what their gender identity is so that you can know how to feel about them? Who told you that you need to make a decision about what someone's racial identity is so that you can know how to treat them, so you can know how to feel about them, right? Who told you that when you looked in the mirror, you need to check yourself to see how well you conform to the gender norms of the gender that you have been assigned. Who's that for? It could be for you. I mean, I'm conforming to gender identities. You see, I got my nails. I did my nails. I got glasses. My lip gloss is popping. I got a little shoulder shimmy. Right? I'm conforming. And also, right, these are my gender affirmation accoutrement. My gender affirmation accoutrement. See, these are my gender affirming accoutrement here. You see them? I'm affirming my gender with my lip gloss. I want to affirm my womanhood with this top so that you can see my ladies. And I support anyone who wants to affirm their gender, whatever that is. And guess what? I go through my non-binary phases. Earlier this year, I didn't want to wear no makeup. I didn't want to wear no nail polish. I didn't want to carry a purse. I was wearing a fanny pack and my Teva sandals. I was looking mad lesbian out here. I was looking mad non-binary out here. And you know why I could do that? Because I don't care about what people assume my sexuality is. I don't care. It's not up for debate. It's not a conversation. Now, obviously, this comes from a place of privilege that people are almost always going to assume that I am cisgender. And so with that, I am protected from the violence that is foisted upon those whose appearances might be read as something other than cisgender, right? Right? So anyways, let's talk about this Mercury retrograde. I always like to debunk some Mercury retrograde myths to start out. So Mercury retrograde myths are, this is not, don't do nothing. This is not, oh my God, I should be scared. I want you to think of Mercury retrogrades as like the road outside your house has to be repaved every now and then. Okay? This is how I want you to think of Mercury retrograde. Just like the road outside of your house that needs to be repaved every now and then. And when that road needs to be repaved, you need all kind of people to come out to make sure it's correct. You know, if it's concrete, you need your concrete truck. You need your, sometimes the rebar in the street needs to be replaced. And so you need your iron workers out there. You need your concrete finishers, right? You need your project managers and engineers, right? These are all of the things that have to happen every now and then, usually with regular intervals, with a regular kind of time frame. Your road outside of your home needs to be repaired, correct? This is just like Mercury retrograde, friends. Every single sign gets its turn to be the Mercury retrograde sign of the season, right? And this time it's Leo. So the road is being repaved in your Leo house, okay? The road is being repaved in your Leo house right now. The engineers are out, right? The concrete finishers are out. The iron workers are out because the street has fallen into disrepair. Your Leo house has fallen into disrepair. Maybe the ground that holds up your Leo house is not as firm as it used to be, so they need to put some more fill in there, right? Our Leo house is the place where we contend with the wound of humiliation. Our Leo house is the place where we contend with shaping and developing a self-image through this process of humiliation leading to dignity and self-respect. Dignity and self-respect is a question of what holds up your sense of self. Where does your worth or value as a person come from? Where does your sense of I'm real come from? Now, here's the rub. Here's the thing. Everybody needs external validation. Come on, guys. This is an affirmation. Say it with me. Say it with me. Everybody needs external validation. Yes, you need external validation. Where does that fall for you? Where does that land for you? What comes up for you as you hear me say, everybody needs external validation? Now, I want you to think about all of the messaging you've received that tells you you don't need external validation, that you should not rely in any way on external validation. And if you need external validation, there is something wrong with you. Right? Everybody needs external validation. And then here is the rub. So let's see. Let's see here. Flow to Light said it feels good to hear that everybody needs external validation. 5 Fight said they feel validated. Eric Trevon says, and you're going to know when it's absent. Raw Honeyed says they feel nausea, then acceptance. Ooh, this is a good one. Jammy in Motion says, but that means I have to be perceived. Ooh, yes. Flow to Light says, capitalism says we don't. Yes, it does. Meanwhile, selling you validation in every single product that it creates. So another piece of this that I want to highlight is that when a need is denied or repressed, it comes out in perverted ways. It comes out in destructive ways, and it comes out in unconscious ways. When a need is repressed or denied, it controls you. Yeah, it does. When the need for validation is repressed and denied, that need starts to act out. It starts to wild out. It starts to come out at the most inopportune times in the most embarrassing and humiliating ways. It starts trying to conceal itself behind certain other parts of you. When the need for validation is repressed or denied, it starts to sneak its way out to be met in ways that can really, really, really be destructive, right? But we can't help it. If every single meme, every single tweet we see says stop relying on external validation, what do they want us to do? So what does it look like when external validation as a need is denied or repressed and it comes out pervertedly in destructive or unconscious ways? What does that look like? Well, one of the ways it looks like is the constant verbal affirmation that says, I don't care what anyone thinks. When people are constantly couching their actions, their choices, their experiences in this language of, I don't care what anyone thinks. What that really means is that I have had attention and validation withheld from me so much that I cannot rely on it as a way to shore up my self-worth and my sense of self. Right? Anytime people are, I don't care what people think. I know you don't. And you can't. Because who were the people that you would have cared what they think? In order to care what people think, they have to think about you. In order to care what people think, they have to think about you. And then they have to think about you in ways that make you feel good. I wouldn't care what people think if they were invalidating me and telling me I ain't shit, ain't gonna be shit, and my mama wasn't shit, and my uncle Tito wasn't shit either. Why would I care what those people think? And why would I develop any sense of trust in other people's perceptions of me? Why would I? Where would I learn that other people's perceptions are trustworthy indicators of who I am and my value? Where would I learn that? Now, I want to qualify my statement about when a need is repressed or denied. That need is not always internally repressed or denied. And as a matter of fact, if I repress or deny my need for validation, it is because that need was denied. It's because that need wasn't being met. It's because I was shamed or humiliated for that need. It's because I was denied the thing that need represents, right? So understand that when we deny our need for validation, when we suppress our need for external validation or repress it, what we've done is internalized a relationship with that need that our caregivers had. So we relate to our needs in the way that our caregivers did. If our caregivers ignore a need, guess what we gonna do? Ignore it. If our caregivers shamed us for having a need, what are we going to do to that need? Shame ourselves. Try our very best to ignore its existence. Hey, Pooh, I'm alive. What's up? You hungry?
Just wanted to ask something.
What's up?
When it's 8 o'clock, something's coming on stock in my game, and I won't be able to get it unless I'm there. So I'm asking you for 5 minutes at 8 o'clock.
All right.
Thank you. Also, yes, I am hungry.
Okay. Therapy with Julian. You would do amazingly in the mental health space, such a wealth of knowledge. I am so glad that you said that, and I feel very validated by your statement. And I thank you for your validation because that is where I'm moving. That's where I'm shifting and pivoting. If you've been following the 7 Essential Needs page, if you've been following Psyche, Self, Soul, this is what it is. This is what it is here, right? The whole point of the 7 Essential Needs is so that I can serve people in a more therapeutic way. It's just that I'm not going to school to get a license, right? So as I was saying, we relate to our needs. Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna feed my child, Internet Marcus. Thank you, the human DJ. My son is an excellent communicator. He is really, really, and the older he gets, the better of a communicator he gets. And I'm so into it. I'm so into it. Hey, Ashley. Yes, 7 Essential Needs is giving Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but better. Yes, and the better is that everybody has their own unique hierarchy of the 7 Essential Needs that comes from their birth chart. Okay, so I'm going to put a post up sometime this week. Actually, it's going to be not a post. It's going to be released as a free ebook that actually is talking about the second of the 7 Essential Needs, which is attention and validation. Okay. So we relate to our needs in the same way that our needs were related to. And the sign that most of us were deprived of attention, which is being focused on, and validation, which means to, hold on, I want to read it just how I wrote it. Attention means to be focused on, to have oneself, a part of oneself, or one's actions or behavior regarded, and validation means to be recognized and affirmed in a way that is meaningful to you. Raise your hand if from your caregivers you received validation. Raise your hand if your caregivers recognized and affirmed you in a way that was meaningful to you. Raise your hand. Not in ways that they valued, not in ways that made them look a certain way, not validated in ways that shored up their preferred self-image in the eyes of their community and family, not validating you for things that they felt were valuable or meaningful. One of the sneaky ways that we can mistake validation that is meaningful and valuable or one of the ways that we can mistake validation that is meant to shore up the self-image of a caregiver with validation that is meaningful and valuable to us is when, for example, it is only our actions that are validated. The things that we do are validated. The things that we do are focused on. The things that we do are regarded as valuable. And this is where capitalism sneaks its way into households. Let me catch up with some of these comments here. We got ... We got crickets here. Yeah, I'm guessing nobody received that validation. Micro Maddie says this is so important because people who have been scapegoats in their family of origin literally need to be perceived and validated. But the main therapy paradigms contest this. Absolutely. Unfortunately, mainstream therapy paradigms are meant to shore up the systems of oppression that are the cause of the harm that lead us into therapy in the first place. And even more so, unfortunately, most mainstream therapy validates these systems and seeks to give us coping strategies and to help us to conform to these systems, right? All therapy should be revolutionary, to be honest. Therapy with Julian says that validation was very inconsistent. Blooms in RSQ. Hey Sam says sometimes. Liquid Onyx says LMAO, nope, period. Elizabeth said one of them, but the other did so much damage. Salam Dunk gave us a straight face. Five Flights gave us the... Crystal Graham says, sigh. Fairy Flag says, I can hear a pin drop. Yep. Therapy with Julian says, is there going to be a guide for your 7 essential needs? I would love to use this model with my clients. You know, it dawned on me and dropped on my mind last week that this might ultimately be something that I train other people to do. But there are some preliminary steps I need to take before that. So for now, it's kind of a proprietary thing that you have to come to me for. But some of the things that I have in mind and some of the things that there are seeds to be built within the next year or two definitely would lend itself to me training people in this model. So yes. Orchid Days 63 says modern therapy teaches you to gaslight themselves. Taiwu 96 says, but actions show intent, or maybe it was my lack of validation because I rarely believe words when actions are the opposite of what's spoken. Absolutely. The two should align. Although I think that part of the challenge with the sometimes true, axiom that action shows intent is that what is missing from that statement is who gets to determine what the intent is, Right now, obviously, if I'm harmed by something, then my experience of the action is that it was harmed. But I think the narrow path or venue where action shows intent is in unequal power dynamics, which for all intents and purposes is what we're talking about here, right? Because a parent to child power dynamic is uneven, right? And so for the child, the impact is the intent, right? They literally cannot. This whole conversation is in my current parenting challenges, y'all. It's so hard. It's so hard. That unequal parenting dynamic, right? Power dynamic where the child cannot make the distinction between intent and outcome, right? And of course, as they get older, we want them to make that distinction. Y'all, ask me what it's like. Jammy in motion, it is ORCLE, not Oracle. Take the A out. Thanks, Golden Waters. Continuing education. Oh, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. Julianne, of course. I might try to post it on YouTube. I'm using my old phone to do this because my iPhone be cutting up. So anyways, let's continue with this. I actually want to read, and I'm going to take these out of the comments of this post and share it as a separate post. So I put up a post on my Instagram that says, what is your sidereal sun sign? And in the caption and the comments, I gave a description of each sidereal sun sign placement. And I want you to hear. Yes, Pooh Bear. Okay, I'll do my best. I don't know if it's gonna. Did you send a? Can you send a request? Hold on, y'all. So I'm gonna share these. I'll do my best to live abundantly. I'm going to share these sun sign interpretations. And I want you to hear them as horoscopes for 125 days of Sidereal Leo, including this Mercury retrograde. Okay, I added more time. Okay, so let's start. Hey, Miss Larissa. Okay, so remember, this is only for your sidereal sun sign. And for those who care about the astrology of this, anytime that there are transits through Leo, it does not matter if you have any planets there or not. Anytime there are any transits through sidereal Leo, including current Venus retrograde, including Mercury and this Mercury retrograde, Mars is currently in Leo and the sun will come to Leo in a couple of weeks. Anytime there is activity in sidereal Leo, your sun is being activated. And what the sun really represents is the process by which you have become. Saru, I responded to it. The process by which you become aware of yourself. And more importantly, the sign of your sun is telling you where in your hierarchy of needs attention and validation lands. And it's telling you what need superseded the need for attention and validation. So that if you are a Leo sun, more likely than not, the need for attention and validation is your dominant need. So you get someone like Michael Jackson who has Leo sun, or someone like Beyonce who has Leo sun, right? Okay. Or even someone like Donald Trump who does not have Leo sun, but he has Leo rising and he has Mars in Leo and his sun is on the midheaven, right? So let's start. Let's start with sun in Leo. What is the opportunity of this Mercury retrograde, this ongoing Venus retrograde in 125 days of sidereal Leo? Sun in Leo, you are learning to develop dignity and self-respect independent from how the people in your life behave or look. You can be you without them having to change. One of the challenges with Leo is figuring out what is personal, what are they the subject of, what is about them and what is not about them, right? One of the really good examples of this is this Jess Hilarious thing. Now, I don't know their chart, but Jess Hilarious went on this rampage about cisgender, about trans women, about uteruses and bleeding and all of this stuff. And on the surface, it appeared as if Jess Hilarious was talking to trans women. But Jess Hilarious actually was not talking to trans women. Jess Hilarious was talking to men. Why was Jess Hilarious talking to men? Because Jess Hilarious does not want to be usurped in the hierarchy of being valued by men. Why? Because in a patriarchy, men are our access to security, generally, materially, and safety. That if we have the positive regard of men, in most cases, we can benefit from that. Women benefit from the positive regard of men. Everyone benefits from the positive regard of men, even other men, right? But specifically in that, Jess Hilarious was talking to men. Jess Hilarious was making a statement distinguishing herself from trans women, right? Saying, hey, men, don't worry. I'm a real woman. I have a uterus. I bleed every month. I know that my value to patriarchy is in my ability to reproduce. And so I'm just letting you know, men and patriarchy, that I'm a real woman because I can bleed and reproduce. So please value me over trans women because trans women cannot bleed and reproduce. I'm a real woman. Please, patriarchy, please validate me, patriarchy. Please give me attention, patriarchy. Right? So this brings me to one of the really, really, really important opportunities of this Mercury retrograde in Leo and this 125 days of sidereal Leo. And this is because Saturn is currently in Aquarius, offering us this perspective, which is that most times people are not talking to you. That was the weirdest dog bark ever. Most times, people are verbalizing their insecurities. Real talk, most times, it doesn't matter who's in front of you, people are talking to their parents. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Whenever I have to make a distinction between myself and another person, and I get on the internet to do that, it is not about that person. If I get on the internet to differentiate and make a distinction between myself and another group of people, and I am not having a private conversation with that group of people, I'm not talking to them. So this is a question that you can ask yourself about every conversation that you have over the next 100 days. Who is the audience? Operate off the assumption, if I am not the audience, who's the audience for this? And you're going to save yourself so much bickering. You are going to save yourself so much back and forth. You are going to save yourself so much unnecessary conflict when you can figure out who is the audience. Who are they talking to? They can't be talking to me. This is why I said in my post, who do you think you're talking to? Now, obviously, in our diaspora, our Black diaspora, the phrase, who do you think you're talking to, is meant as a display of dominance. It is meant as an expression of a power hierarchy, a hierarchy of authority to say, I am up here, you are down here. We are not equal, so don't talk to me like we're equals. Or you've got me fucked up. That is what who do you think you're talking to means. But I also want you to hear that literally as a real opportunity for curiosity, like, who do they think they're talking to? They couldn't be talking to me. Who do they think they're talking to? Right? Because the assumption is that they're talking to you, but most time people aren't. Let's move on. Sun in Virgo. Hear this, Sun in Sidereal Virgo. Hear this as your horoscope for this 125 days of Leo, including Mercury retrograde. You are learning that showing up as different parts of yourself in different contexts doesn't mean that you are a liar. Your authentic self is varied and nuanced. Virgo is driven by meticulousness. Virgo is driven by precision. The human self and the human body and the human psyche are not rigid black and white expressions that are the same all the time. Right? So for Virgo, you can be these different parts of yourself. And I think the hardest part for Sun in Virgo is when other people point out parts of you or how you're being. It can be something that you get defensive about, or it could be something that leads other people to feel like you're gaslighting them. And you might feel like you're being gaslit in that moment, right? Sun in Virgo is saying the need to be heard and understood, or the need to hear and understand is more important than intention and validation. That the need for attention and validation serves the need to hear and understand, or the need to be heard and understood. Right? Okay. Sun in Libra, you are learning that your self-image is more than a tool you fashioned to keep others from abandoning you or punishing you. Other people aren't judging you the way you judge yourself. Give you a chance. Sun in Libra, you are the perfectionist. Sun and Libra are perfectionists, right? Everything has to be just so. And don't get me wrong, we need Libra vibes. We need somebody to be the master of execution. We need someone to make sure that we're doing it right. We need someone to have the vision of excellence, right? We need someone to know how it's supposed to look, right? But when that thing is yourself, is there really a way that yourself is supposed to look? Right? What I want more than anything for Sun in Libra during this time is for you to make statements of affirmation that say, I am bad. I am such a bad person. And then I want you to think about, what would the bad version of yourself do? And if it's not going to harm anybody, pick one or two to do them. What are the rules that you need to break? Right? Libra needs to break some rules. And the rule needs to be leaning into that which you think you will be punished for. Leaning into that which you think you will be judged for. Let me tell you how I clock Libra. Libra is the easiest sign to clock, second to Cancer. Libra is the easiest sign to clock because Libra is almost always hyper aware of what their face looks like. Libra is hyper aware of how their face, what their face is communicating, what their facial expressions, what their face movements are communicating. Libra is not the sign that is going to reveal what they're thinking or how they're feeling on their face, because they are so hyper aware of it. I could tell if people, especially if they're on camera, on video, I can clock Libra in 5 seconds, because Libra is always like, do they see me looking at myself? Are they aware of how I look? How do I look to them in this moment? Fairy flag, no, this cannot be applied to moon and rising. This is specifically for your sun sign. We're specifically talking about the need for attention and validation, and we're specifically talking about how that shows up for each sidereal sun sign. So let's go to Scorpio. You are learning that you can have pride in your differences even if others don't validate them. You are allowed to respect the parts of yourself that others have rejected. So what happens for Sun in Scorpio is that you are conditioned by your caregivers and environment to protect other people from your differences and to protect other people from your feelings, right? But what this means is that you often miss out on the attention and validation that you need. Just because something is your dominant need or above a different need in a hierarchy doesn't mean that you don't need that subservient need. It means that that's likely the thing that you most explicitly deny yourself, right? So for Scorpio, these Leo transits are really, 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 really sticky, right? Because Leo needs attention and validation. It is explicit about that. And let me just say something real quick about Leo. This goes for all Leo. Leo rising, sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, okay? All Leo placements. Barring other factors in the chart, and those other factors are going to be lots of air signs like Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. But barring other air signs, Leo suffered from a lack of privacy. Leo suffered because their caregivers took everything that they did as a statement about who the caregiver was, right? And because of this, Leo struggles to maintain firm boundaries between their sense of self and the selves of other people, right? Like a really good example of this is the concept of celebrity and hypervisibility. Celebrities are suffering from a lack of privacy. Now, obviously, for many of them, not all of them, what they get in exchange for that is capital, right? Their hypervisibility is the capital, and they get money for that, right? But what you'll find is that people who are in professional relationship with celebrities or hyper visible people are often asked to sign NDAs or non-disclosure agreements, right? Because non-disclosure agreements are the way that celebrities and hyper visible people manufacture privacy, right? Now, for those of us who have Sidereal Leo and you aren't a celebrity, how do you manufacture privacy for yourself when you are so used to not only actually being exposed, but also feeling like the threat of exposure is always there? The threat of being scrutinized and criticized is always there for Leo, right? This is also going to go for you if you have the sun on your midheaven or if you have the sun in the same sign as your ascendant. So that likely means you are born around noon or you were born around sunrise on the day of your birth, right? So one of the things for Leo is like privacy, like that is your medicine. Like you need to drop off the face of the map. And I know dropping off the face of the map, you fear that people are going to forget you. Trust me, nobody's going to forget you. Just come back and be yourself, right? Okay, Sun in Sagittarius, you are learning that you are more than your convictions. All that convincing that you thought was for others to not think you're a hypocrite is for you. Believe you, okay? Sun in Sagittarius is well known for let me not go down that way. Yes, my mom is a sidereal Leo sun, and she's always wondered about what our neighbors think of us, right? And this goes for sidereal Scorpio and sidereal Leo. Why are you more concerned with what others think of you and less concerned with what you think of you? This is a big one for Sun and Scorpio. What do you think of you? How do you feel about you? Right? Okay, back to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is saying that the need for certainty is above the need for attention and validation. The need to have confidence in our assumptions, right? There's this thing of any planet in Jupiter sign, so that's anything in Pisces or Sagittarius, is this thing we struggle to take at face value. This thing that we experience being gaslit about, this thing that we approach with skepticism, and this thing that we struggle with self-trust around. So what happens when the thing that you have experienced gaslighting around, the thing that you approach with skepticism, the thing that you cannot take at face value is your own need for attention and validation? Creating belief systems around not needing attention and validation, right? Distrusting your own yearnings to be seen, distrusting your own yearnings to be recognized in ways that are valuable and meaningful to you. So an opportunity for Sagittarius is, how can you take your need for attention and validation at face value? How can you take it at face value? How can you accept it as a thing that you need? How can you recognize when you are creating stories that are meant to deter you from your need for attention and validation? And how are you perceiving your belief system or your convictions as a statement about your worthiness of attention and validation? Okay, Capricorn, you are learning that your need for attention is valid and not defined by the time other people have to give you. Doing less with more is not a personality trait. That goes across the board for anybody with Capricorn. Doing less with more is not a personality trait, my friends. right? I don't know if you were in here when I said this hamtastic, but our first affirmation of the day was everyone needs external validation. That was our first affirmation of this live. Everyone needs external validation. Okay? Everyone. Everybody needs external validation. Okay? And we're setting aside, hey, Courtney, we're setting aside all bootstraps, directives that I got to do it for myself, that I got to give it to myself. Or as Mariah Carey said, I'm going to do the best that I can with what I got. Okay. Capricorn, Sun. And what is very, very, very hard about this is that unfortunately, most of us continue to have experiences that reinforce the thing that we're trying to shift away from. So if you have, hey, Danya, if you have Sun in Capricorn, right, your experiences are often reinforcing, right, that other people aren't going to give you attention. I have Sun in Capricorn, and as a cisgender woman who dates cisgender men, attention and validation is like the primary bargaining tool that cisgender men use to coerce and control women. Attention and validation is also the primary bargaining tool that parents use to control and coerce children. Can we get real with it in this moment? Can we really talk about it? Can we talk about attention and validation as a tool of control and coercion? And shout out to everybody with Sun in a cardinal sign. That's going to go for Capricorn. That's going to go for Libra, Cancer, and Aries. Attention and validation being a tool of control and coercion used by cisgender men towards cisgender women in heterosexual relationships, right? I mean, we would not even have the term ghosting if this was not true. There's a meme that says doing something with the weed man for weed. And then somebody replied, well, I'm sending text to the text man to get the text, right? And and it's this transactional way that attention and validation is used to coerce and control, but also to establish dominance. This should really help you understand more about your own relationship with attention and validation, regardless of what your sun sign is, right? Even in same gender or gender non-conforming relationships, attention and validation is a tool to establish dominance. Can we talk about Sun being exalted in Sidereal Aries? We're not going to go there. That's a conversation that's fucking the text man for text. Thank you, Maisha. That's it. That's it. Right? Attention and validation is such a fundamental need that we are deprived of, and that we are conditioned to seek in such perverted ways, right? And we don't even acknowledge the ways that we seek attention and validation as such, right? We don't ever say, I'm doing this for attention. No one ever says, I'm doing this because I want attention. No, what we hear is, that baby only doing that because she wants some attention. Or, man, she only posted that on the internet because she wants some attention. Or they only said that because they wanted some attention. And it's like, constantly reinforcing that attention is bad. You should not want attention. And anytime you are seen to be doing something for attention, you are going to be shamed and rebuked and judged. And anytime your actions can be construed as attention seeking, you are going to be shamed and rebuked and humiliated and judged. And so at the very least, you should figure out how to conceal your bids for attention and validation in ways that does not hip other people to the fact that that's what you're actually seeking, right? So another thing for us to do during this Mercury retrograde, and I want to see y'all do it. Tag me when you do it. I want to see you post, and I want you to explicitly say, I'm posting this because I want attention. We're getting better, right? That dialogue is out there. That language is out there. But I want us to be explicit. I want us to name our need for attention so that we can normalize attention and validation as a legitimate need that there is no reason to be shameful about. There is no reason to be shameful. And here's the thing. The only way that somebody can shame you for wanting or needing attention and validation is because you are already ashamed. You are already uncertain, right? And this goes for adults, not children, right? You have already internalized the idea as truth that you should not want attention and you should not want validation. So let's be explicit about it. Let's say it. I'm doing this because I want attention. And here is the wildest thing of all about this. When you say, if you qualify your post, your picture, your thirst trap, your video, whatever, and you say, I'm doing this because I want attention. When you make it explicit, guess what you're going to get? Guess what you're going to get? You are going to get attention. You will free yourself and free other people like that. When you tell other people that you're doing something for attention, they're going to give it to you because they may not be conscious of it, but they're going to be like, oh, you mean all this time I could have just asked for the attention that I wanted? We are suffering. We are in a epidemic of loneliness. We are in an epidemic of lack of attention and lack of a validation, right? Let me move on. Sun in Aquarius, you are learning to see yourself in who and what you are, not just in who and what you are not. Erasing yourself is depriving you of the validation you need to feel real. Okay? Yes, Micro Maddie, it's confusing because attention is dangerous, but we have to seek it through courage and discernment. Absolutely. There are some forms of attention that are deadly, right? And the art of concealment and the art of invisibility and cloaking, the art of assimilation and conforming. These are all necessary ways that we protect ourselves from the harm that visibility can engender towards us, right? So I appreciate you bringing that up because visibility is not safe for everyone. But I'm saying this within the context and with the assumption, which I shouldn't assume, but I'm saying this with the assumption that you are sharing this in safe spaces, right? You're doing it on your Finsta or wherever it may be. But let's get back to Aquarius. Erasing yourself is depriving you of the validation you need to feel real. This is how I clock Aquarius. I clock Aquarius because Aquarius is always speaking in I am not statements. You'll rarely hear Aquarius make affirmative statements with confidence, dignity, and pride about who they are and what they're capable of. Instead, Sun in Aquarius is often making statements that negate themselves, that are self-deprecating and meant to not signal to other people that they are taking up more space than other people think they should. Self-abnegation, self-negation of Aquarius is a means to protecting themselves. No, Dewey Melanin, this does not apply to Uranus dominant 11th house placements. I do not use Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. And I also do not conflate house meanings with planets or signs. In divination for liberation, sidereal astrology, houses are a distinct phenomenon and function with a clear distinction in relationship to houses and planets. So there is the only association between houses and planets that I recognize are the planetary joys. And Jupiter would be the planet that joys in the 11th house. Okay? I'm so glad that this is validating for you, Dewy Melanin. Okay? So Aquarius, your challenge during this 125 days of Leo and Venus retrograde in Leo and Mercury retrograde in Leo, your challenge is how many affirmative statements can you make? You need to keep a journal, and every morning start with 1 if you can't come up with 5. But Sidereal Aquarius Sun specifically, you need to keep a journal. Start tomorrow morning on a piece of paper, on a Post-it note, something. What are your I affirmative statements? You can start with I am real. You can start with I exist. I want you to make affirmative statements about yourself that are not your race and that are not your gender and that are also not roles you play in relationship to other people. That is your homework, Sidereal Aquarius. So don't mention your gender. You cannot mention your race. And you cannot mention the roles you play in relation to other people. We're doing hardcore self-determination work, Sidereal Aquarius. And as a matter of fact, if this homework resonates with anybody, do it, regardless of what your sun sign is. I think this might be helpful for a lot of other people, for you to do this homework of what are your affirmative statements of I am that are not your race, that are not your gender, and are not your role you play in relationship to other people. So no, I am a great mother. No, I'm a great sister. No, I'm the best lover. No, these are existential statements. Okay, meditate on it. If you don't come up with something, where are we now? Sun in Pisces, you are learning to take yourself at face value. You can trust that how you see yourself is accurate. Validate your perceptions by believing yourself first. So again, remember, when we are talking about Sun anywhere but Leo, we are saying that there is a hierarchy here where there is another planet above the sun in our hierarchy, and that other planet represents a need, right, that supersedes the need of the sun, which is attention and validation. So if we're talking about Sun in Pisces, Jupiter is above the sun, and Jupiter is the need for certainty, right? One of the fundamental questions of the sun is, am I the subject of what's happening? Am I the cause of what is happening to me, other people, and my environment? Right? Am I the cause? Am I the agent of influence in my own life? And let me just say this to y'all real quick. One of the ways that we are deprived of attention and validation is not merely by having verbal validation withheld from us. One of the primary ways that when we are children, we are deprived of the need for attention and validation is that our caregivers remain unmoved by us. They are unwilling to change the way that they see the world. They are unwilling to change the way they are unwilling to change the way that they move. They are unwilling to have their own self-image impacted and influenced by our presence and who we are. Our caregivers function as if they are these unmovable, fixed entities that the children must conform to, that our sense of self must be shaped to conform to that which upholds the image that the parent wants to project of themselves out in the world. Right? Right? So I'm saying this because I want you to understand that lack of validation is not just a lack of words. Words don't mean anything. Real validation comes in the form of being permitted to take up space. Real validation comes in the form of being permitted to take up space. So earlier I said, raise your hand if you received validation from your caregivers, meaning you were recognized and affirmed in ways that were meaningful and valuable to you. Most people said no, right? Created by Tanya, one. Well, first of all, welcome to Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology. I am Dana Lynn Knuckles, your liberation conductor, okay? I'm here at the front of the train taking y'all to your freedom, to your liberation. We're imagining together new ways to be in relationship to others, new ways to define what is valuable and what we do with that, new ways to talk about and think about why we're here. Okay. So I'm so glad you needed this message. And I'm so glad that you got it right on time. Oh, yes. I'm so glad for you, Tanya. Yes. So as I was saying, real validation comes in the form of being able to take up space. And so another way to ask the question, did you receive validation from your caregivers, or were you recognized and affirmed in ways that were valuable and meaningful to you? Another way to ask that question is, were you allowed to take up space? Were you allowed to show up as you were and for the people in your life to move around to adjust to you? Or were your actions scrutinized and always made out to be a statement about your parents? If you ever heard, I love y'all, all aboard, choo choo. Let me see, y'all got some great comments here. You are so welcome, Tanya. All aboard, OIC Medusa. Choo choo. Marisa says, and this is why I want to know that I affect those I'm in relationships with, but I don't believe I can. Okay, but this is so real for Pisces sun, because it's almost like you're going to gravitate towards relationships where you have to even ask the question, right? You're gonna find yourself in relationships with people where there's a puzzle to figure out, where you're having to connect the dots and see, am I being considered, right? And also that it is going to be uncomfortable for you to get attention, right? Understand that for most of us, attention is really uncomfortable, right? Because what is often coming with attention is invalidation. What's often coming with attention is being scrutinized, right? Or attention itself is a weapon of dominance that is granted and withheld based on the whims of the person with the power in the relationship, right? So this is another thing that we could be watching out for during this Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, all in Leo, 125 days of Leos. We need to be paying attention to and looking out for how attention as a weapon of dominance, coercion, and control is inflicted upon us and inflicted upon groups of people. You guys have some great comments here. Attention was surveillance and criticism for me. This is so common for people with sidereal Leo. And add another point if you also have sidereal Scorpio. If you have sidereal Scorpio and Leo, this attention was surveillance and criticism for me. Who? You know who has Sidereal Leo and Scorpio? Britney Spears. Britney Spears has Sidereal Leo and Scorpio. And we want to talk about attention and surveillance, this incredibly hyper visible child and young adult being surveilled by her father. Let's talk about it. Let's shake it loose. Fairy Flag 444 says, man, as a Sidereal Pisces sun, I'm like, why am I left out or not special to someone or having to ask for the bare minimum? Right? And here's the thing. If you ask and they don't give it to you, you have to be willing to leave, right? And not get caught up on trying to, be the detective, trying to piece together morsels of what could be interpreted as attention or validation or love or connection, right? Like if you find yourself having to piece together and tell a story about it, that ain't it. If you have Sidereal Pisces, you need to make your expectations for attention and validation in your relationships explicit. You need to be able to say to your partner or loved one, this is what counts as attention and validation for me. This is what I need. And either they can give it to you or they can't. Either they are willing or they are unwilling. And if they can't give it to you, they don't, or they are unwilling. You have to be willing to walk away. Hey, Pooh. Okay, what you eating? Oh, okay. Y'all, we're moving this to the kitchen so that I can feed my child. I love you. You want something? Well, I was just gonna make tuna and pickles, but I think you ate all the crackers. Okay. Were you gonna have it?
I don't know if I ate them.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll make you tuna and pickles. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I think you left the bag on the couch, or no, you put it in the kitchen. There's a little bit left. Okay. Okay. There's only one can left, Pooh. I'll make you a smoothie in a little bit, though. You want a smoothie? Huh? Okay. I'll make your smoothie after I get off live so that I won't make it a loud sound, okay? Oh, mute my live? I can, you're right. Created by Tanya says, oh my God, me, I am a mom and this wound still follows me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm in the right space. You absolutely are, Tanya. Dewey Melanin says, I know it's not limited to Pisces, but having to ask for validation seems like so much work. Is it better to go where you don't have to ask? So there are going to be times where people automatically give you the validation that you desire. But I want you to remember that you're not a baby. You are not an infant where everybody around you is going to sit around and try to interpret what your needs are. And yes, I could be a little more quiet. You're welcome. Right. So you're not an infant where the whole environment or people are attuned to you in a way that they can automatically know what you need. I'm not saying that if somebody's not giving you attention or has never given you attention, that you should have to ask for it. What I'm saying is, if you have a need, don't assume that people know what that need is, and don't assume that they know how to give it to you. What accounts as attention or validation for some people does not count as attention or validation. For me, I need you to tell me with your mouth. I need to hear with words what it is that you're thinking and feeling. I need to hear that recognition and that affirmation verbally. That may not be the case for other people. Other people might want to receive it in other ways. Other people like grand gestures. They want a big party. They want roses or whatever. I'm not one of those people. Don't buy me no gifts because I might not like it. And then we're both going to be embarrassed because I'm going to have to tell you I don't like it. Right? So it's work to get your needs met as adults. We are all very, very deeply harmed by capitalism, whiteness, and patriarchy. And we have to have grace for ourselves and other people within reason. Pisces is motivated by the need for certainty, fairy flag 444. Created by Tanya One says, I feel vulnerable when I feel seen, a little shy, but I love people. And that's the thing, right? Like, attention develops into validation when other people see our shyness and they see our unsureness and they see our insecurity. And rather than pointing it out and making a mockery of our shyness and insecurity, they shore us up and hold us tenderly, right? You ever seen a kid get up on stage and sing at church and that baby be so shy? That baby be, Jesus, and they be like, that's all right, baby. That's all right, baby. Take your time, baby. That's all right. You see that? The attention is making them feel insecure and shy, but the audience is validating them and saying, it's okay. We are not judging you because you are insecure and shy. We are going to hold you up and be here for you. And even if it's not perfect, we're not going to criticize or judge you. We are going to support you in your effort because we know that it is incredibly hard to get up on stage with a microphone. We know it's hard because most of us are not doing it. And so we are going to validate you and hold tender space for you. And that's what we should be looking for. That's what we should be looking for, Tanya, that when we are vulnerable and shy, that people don't make a mockery of us. People don't humiliate us and focus on our shyness or insecurity or try to call us out or one up us, right? They hold space for us. And that's the thing that most of us never get. So this is what I mean by accepting your need for attention and validation and really, really showing, being able to say, what does that look like for me? Okay, it's dark. Dirty Pisces says, yes, I've always said my mom views her kids as a reflection of her. Me and twin have Pisces sun, moon, and Leo rising. Yep. That happens so commonly. I need to put this up on something. We're going to put it up on this thing of fennel seeds. There we go. Created by Tanya. If you have another device, go to my bio on here, and there's actually a highlight that says create your sidereal birth chart. And if you click that highlight, there's a link in there, and it'll take you to a blog post on my website that shows you how to get your sidereal birth chart. Okay. Marisa said, I want attention, but if I get it, I'm immediately bracing for criticism. And that's the thing right there. The edge of your comfort is if I show myself in this way, I'm expecting criticism. But how people respond to your bids for attention and how they respond to your self-consciousness is going to give you the keys and tell you all you need to know about whether or not this person is a trustworthy and safe source of attention and validation. Bloom in our SRQ says, positive attention was also for performing the role of their perfect child in my family. That makes sense. Cradle and Cowrie, I have both Sidereal Leo and Scorpio. Yep. Can validation be being called pretty? Because somebody can say something nice and I think they like me. Two things about that. Yes, validation, the type of validation that you received can often be signified by your sun sign, right? So if you are Libra or Taurus, you received attention and validation for what you looked like, right? Or for what you did and how that looked, right? If you're Leo, you're receiving attention and validation or having validation withheld for how you make your caregiver look, how you make your mom or father or family look, right? But I think what might be worth being curious about for yourself, Mad Laser Gaming, that somebody can say something nice and I think they like me. What this is a signal of is that you don't have a lot of spaces where people are being kind to you, right? And you also are deprived of feeling special, right? and that there may be some questions around why. You know the answer to that probably better than I do. So I'm going to leave that there. Liquid Onyx says, Leo rising, and my dad literally abused me and surveillanced me, took my bedroom door off the hinges. This is, I swear to you, I can't tell you how many Leos I have worked with, people with all kinds of Leo placements I have worked with, who have been subject to that type of invasion of privacy and that type of humiliation and surveillance of having their door taken off their bedroom. Yes, dirty Pisces, no need to look for any more signs or make it make sense, right? That's always a key for anyone who has sidereal Pisces placements. If you are having to play Sherlock Holmes, if you are having to do 50 million divinations, if you are having to look at 50 million charts, if anything is making you ignore how you feel in that moment, or you're trying to give yourself something to look forward to, a feeling to look forward to, the possibility of feeling another feeling other than what you actually feel, that's where you need to kind of check it out, okay? Mixed Pooh Bear gang. Hey. By Savannah, I think that says BYSVNH. As a Scorpio stellium, I'll be wanting attention, but most of the time I'm afraid it will harm me or harm me some way or another. That is a very, very, very real and important fear to honor. And it is very it is very common for sidereal Scorpio to have that feeling, right? To experience that, rather. Oh, I see Medusa, Scorpio Sun and Leo rising. This is making rings true for my whole life, but the time period surrounding it after coming out at 13 was wild. The majority of the attention I got was so negative. Elizabeth said, E.C. McLaughlin said, the thing about asking loved ones for support is really real, but when it worked, it's great. But usually, probably not so much, right? Oops. I'm trying to scroll. There we go. Shadi, I do. I was open about what I needed from my child's father's family. I told them plainly what I needed and they couldn't deliver, so I moved accordingly. They gave me validation via gifts. Yep. I'm another one of those people. I come from a family that likes to give gifts. And it's like, thank you. I truly appreciate having my material needs met. But like, what I really want is for you to be curious about me and interested in me. What I really need is to not always be the object of sarcasm and to be spoken to sincerely. And this is very common in Black families. Being made fun of or being treated sarcastically or spoken to sarcastically is a very common way that Black people prefer to show love. And it was really my own child that that awakened me to the fact that not only that it was happening, because I didn't have the language for it, it was so normal, but also that it was really messed up and I didn't want to be treated that way or spoken to. So one of my important ways that I need attention and validation is I needed to be explicit, I needed to be direct, and I needed to be sincere. Don't give me no underhanded, backhanded comments. Don't give me no, don't give me any, validation cloaked in sarcasm. I need sincere attention and validation. I need it to be explicit as such, right? It should feel good to me. I shouldn't wonder whether you're taking a dig at me or not. I shouldn't wonder, is there a joke that I'm not in on? Am I am I, you know, am I the punchline of a joke, or is this sincere? So I'm just sharing that for ways that some other people might have experienced attention and validation and couldn't necessarily name why it didn't feel good, because I know that was the case for me. Even though that's the way that my family often engages, I really don't enjoy sarcasm. And when I became a mother, I had to become aware of the ways that I was perpetuating that particular kind of attention and like inverse validation or backhanded comments toward my own child. He was like, hey, cut that out. He's like, that's not funny. And I was like, dang, you right. It ain't funny. Yo, Miss Candy, this conversation is so healing. I am so glad that this conversation is healing for you. I really am. It's healing for me, to be honest. It's healing for me as well. You are so welcome, created by Tanya. Jen Flower Mancy says this is why so many of us lean so hard on chosen family. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Fairy Flag says, once again, I've been liberated. I am going to, DJ She's Got Soul, I am going to cover the rest of the sun signs. I'm just in the kitchen making some food for my kid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my iPad so that I can read the other signs. Okay. You're welcome, Raw Honeyed. I'm going to be right back. When I come back, I'm going to read one sign, and then I got to make my son a smoothie. So whatever I can do before I have to turn on the blender, I will do that. And then I'll make the smoothie and come back and finish up. So don't go nowhere. I'm going to get my iPad. Okay, Poobie. I just got to make your smoothie. Your tune is ready. I need to go to the store tomorrow. So tonight at that time, before you get too tired, let's think about what we want to have for some meals this week, okay? Okay, Pooh? Ooh. Yo. All you Cancer risings who have Leo in the second house, can we just talk about the role of humiliation in your relationship with food? Here you go, Pooh. Oh, I forgot. Here, I'm just gonna bring you this bag because it's. You can eat out the bag anyway. Okay, y'all, I'm back. Okay, so let's see. Where are we? So we did Pisces. We're going to do Aries now. Okay. It's so many comments. S.A. Teresa, I usually dismiss myself before someone can even ask. Can't validate me if you can't see me. Oh, yeah. That like preemptive self-deprecation for Aquarius, y'all gotta cut that out. Cut that out, Aquarius. Stop preemptively self-deprecating yourself. I didn't see you on here. You got a new account? Did you unfollow me? What happened? Okay. What y'all said? Oh my God, Scantima said. Maisha says, Ayo, Scantima says that was so specific. What was specific? What did I say? Oh, about the food. Listen. Maisha said, my father is a Cancer ascendant with debilitated moon, and food access, food quality, amount, and timing of consumption are so deep. Yes. Yes. All right, Jamie in motion, taking notes for the class. I forgot that quick. Yeah. I am constantly fascinated about the way people's relationship with food shows up in their birth chart. And one day I'm gonna get on here and just talk about that. Like eighth house, second house stuff. The most common thing I've seen is people who have Capricorn in the second house, and the ways that food was controlled and withheld. It usually isn't that they didn't have enough food. It was that the caregiver was controlling access to food. Or I've often seen North Node, South Node in Capricorn, Cancer, second, eighth house, indicating a parent with an addiction or gambling problem, or ruler of the North Node or South Node in the second house being, Moon or Saturn. So if you have the North Node or South Node in Cancer or Capricorn, and then you also have the Moon or Saturn in the second house, that's another indication of, possibly a caregiver dealing with addiction. But it really is talking about the way it's a generational thing. Like you can literally see the addiction in the chart and how it's coming down from generation to generation. And so you would go back to the parent and be like, okay, so what they mama do? Like real talk. Okay. Sun in Aries. This is your horoscope for Mercury Retrograde. 125 days of Sidereal Leo. I think we're on day like 25 or 26. Venus retrograde in Leo. Okay. You're learning that your worth as a person is not limited by what you are capable of or what you accomplish. You are worthy, period. All right, Sun in Aries. You are worthy, period. Sun in Aquarius often fears that if they stop achieving, that they will be forgotten about and people will no longer see them as valuable or worthy of attention and validation. And that if they stop striving and reaching or working or doing, that somehow they will cease to exist in the minds and imaginations of other people, that they will no longer be relevant, that they will no longer be validated, right? Right? So what are the ways that you are worthy of attention and validation for just being? Right? Overachievers become overachievers because their achieving is the thing that is validated and given attention. And this also becomes a statement about the way that your achievements make your caregiver look. What is the value that your ambitions provide to people who have a vested interest in your self-interest? That's it, Jamie in motion, born equals value. Okay, pause, because I got to start on this smoothie. Meanwhile, I am going... Ooh! Five Fights said, if I run out of attention, if I run out of achievements, will I run out of love? Me. That's heavy. That is so heavy. Hey, Taurus. You are learning that if revealing your authentic self and feelings makes others disapprove of you, then you did not belong in the first place. You can play the game, but remember, the real you needs validation too. If there was ever a word for Taurus, oh, and in case y'all want to know what's going in this smoothie, this is some frozen mixed berries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, and mango. See, because here's the thing about Taurus Sun, and this goes for Libra Sun in some ways as well, because what both Taurus and Libra Sun have in common is that they were rewarded in ways that materially impact their survival in a positive way for what they look like. Now, for Taurus, though, uh-oh, do we have coconut milk? Find out on this episode of What's in the Pantry. Oh, no. Oh, no. We got sweetened condensed coconut milk. We got this old tuna that I need to take out. Dang. Shoot. We don't have no... Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I got more to say about Taurus. I'm just looking for some coconut milk. Saru, I don't think we have coconut milk. It might just be with some apple juice. Oh, here it is. Huh? Coconut milk. You good? Okay. And here's the rub about both Taurus and Libra. You know how Leo, men in particular, are constantly making these statements and having these expectations around the appearance of their partner, right? Guess who they're in relationship with? Libra and Taurus. And Maisha, I know you know that's true. I know you know that's true. But see, the key is not necessarily to avoid men like that, unless, of course, it's coming along with some violence. But it's, do they have the means to uphold their end of the bargain? Do they have the means to uphold their end of the agreement? If you have to look a certain way, where's the money? Where's the security? You should not be working. Like, real talk. Shout out to Sheer 7, because it's true. if that's the game we're going to play, and here goes back to my comment about Taurus, right? What I said on here is you can play the game, and the game for Taurus is understanding that there are certain parts of you that grant you social access, right? There are certain parts of you, whether it's your appearance, your degree, your class access, your class upbringing, whatever it is, there is something that grants you access, social access, right? And these things that grant you social access are almost never your authentic self, right? And so when I say you can play the game, but remember that the real you needs validation too, what I'm actually saying is that you can die a very slow and painful death being stuck in a situation that your appearance made other people say yes to, but your authentic self makes them say no. Right? Hold on, y'all. Oh, I gotta get my clothes. Micro Maddie says, wow, I appreciate this self-acceptance and realistic take. You are welcome. Let's go. Absolutely. Okay. We got Gemini up next. Ugh. Gemini says, you're learning that your identity is not meant to be crowdsourced from the opinions and input of others. You know best who you are, and it's good to have pride in that. Whew! I'm going to let that marinate. Whew, that is so real, Maisha. You're everything when you tick all the boxes on the checklist, but when you're a person, you're no longer wanted. That's so real because your personhood was conditioned upon your value as social currency for your partner, right? So as long as you are a valuable source of currency that increases the social status or the value of your partner in the eyes specifically of other men, then your conditional personhood is granted. But the minute that you become a liability, right, to the real or perceived degradation of your partner's self-image or the positive regard they get out in the world, then that personhood is revoked, right? This is why being an adult people pleaser, especially as a cisgender woman, is so dangerous. Now, it's dangerous to be a cisgender woman. It's dangerous to be a trans woman. So don't think that I am trying to negate the dangers that patriarchy and misogyny and misogynoir and trans misogynoir impose to people perceived as cisgender or transgender woman. But I'm specifically talking about the types of situations that chronic people-pleasing women find themselves in, right? And what I'm pointing out here and what I'm about to say is real controversial. And so I'm going to try to say it in the best way. And this is someone who is a people pleaser or a recovering people pleaser. So let me speak in first person. Hold on. I'm going to mute myself and do this smoothie. Okay, so I'm glad y'all said it for me about people pleasing women finding themselves in abusive situations and life threatening situations. Like, like, yes, there are so many times when our no is not respected at all, but when there's still an exit ramp, people pleasing women often find themselves saying no, saying yes when they really mean no. And the types of situations that we get ourselves in, I'm telling you, like I know that maybe it just was not my lot in life, or I have some kind of divine protection, because the situations my former people pleasing self got me into, where it could have been Audi 5000 for me and I'm still here, and like no harm came to me, or minimal harm, or at least harm that did not result in my death. Like, like, and shout out to my kid who really has taught me um, about the power. Okay, Poopy, it's all ready and it looks very delicious. You gonna let me taste it? Okay, I'm just gonna use a spoon to get a little bit. Mmm. Oh, sour brew, this is so good. Okay. Okay. I'm almost finished with my live if you want to hang out. So yeah. Um this hold on. Love you, Pooh Bear. To finish my live. Okay, taking this back to the light. And don't judge me if you hear me spraying for roaches. Y'all ever seen that one video that man was in the kitchen cooking? It was a big fat roach. Mad Laser Gaming will tell you. Living in New Orleans means you're going to have frog-sized roaches in your house. That's just the way it goes. And so I figured out how to keep them out, though. Hello. I'm spraying to keep the roaches out of my house. They crawl right under my door. Yeah, mine are only from outside. I never see any. Nah, I've never seen those. How's Mama doing? I'm very glad. You're looking very, very happily round. Yes, there is. It's a whole human. It's not a food baby. Well, I'm glad he's still bigger. Well, let's check back at around 34, 36 weeks. Oh my God. See you guys. Okay, I'm back, y'all. My neighbors are pregnant. Okay. Y'all. The roaches are enough to make me leave New Orleans. Like, I can't. Like, I've gotten better, but they fly in your house. Like, one made it past my anti-roach fortress and like literally woke me up at like 2:30 in the morning because it was half dead, like trying to fly and trying to crawl, but like fluttering. And I'm like, is there a mouse in my room? And so I sleep with a flashlight next to my bed because I have to. And I'm like, what is in my room? And I see right in the corner, it's like, that should tell you how light I sleep, that woke me up. Yes, they're this big. Listen, my nervous system is forever changed by these roaches. Okay, y'all. So let's get back to Gemini here. So one of the themes that you should be seeing, yes, they're like Hawaii cockroaches. So one of the themes that you should be recognizing in all of these horoscopes is they're kind of answering this implied question about what's the source of your self-image, right? Like what's your relationship with attention and validation, right? That's really the underlying thing here. And so for Gemini, you're learning that your identity is not meant to be crowdsourced from the opinions and input of others. You know best who you are, and it's good to have pride in that. So with Gemini, so if Leo is like, you got me fucked up, and who you think you talking to, and right? Gemini is like, oh man, do I have myself fucked up? Let me ask someone, hey you, do I have myself fucked up? I do? Okay, then how should I have myself? Tell me, right? It's this sense that with all air signs, taking up space and making yourself the subject, right? And not only perceiving yourself in relation to someone else's identity or someone else's knowledge or someone else's insight or opinions or judgments, Gemini. Also, Gemini needs verbal affirmation of things, okay? Gemini needs words to know it's real. Okay? All right. So, let's move on to Cancer. Sun in Cancer. You are learning that self-consciousness is an important part of building confidence. Learning to be with the emotional discomfort that brings is key. Learning to be with the emotional discomfort of self-consciousness is key. That's a tough one for Sun in Cancer, because the go-to for any Cancer placements is almost always going to be to avoid uncomfortable feelings. Thank you, Photo Optics. Right? Oh, Micro Maddie. Oh, well, I guess I must be stuck up, condescending, mean. Like, I don't know that I've ever met a person who was perceived to be or assigned the persona of being stuck up who wasn't actually, or who was actually incredibly insecure, likely due to some physical or emotional abuse at home. That whole exterior is often that person stuck in fight or flight mode, and or them just genuinely being shy. People read shyness as being stuck up all the time, and it's very wild to me. And also, like, people be scary, right? People be just like on edge and in fight or flight mode, and it can come off and this is not related to Cancer. I'm sorry, y'all. This is not related to Cancer. This was just a response to Micro Maddie's comment. But yeah, let's get back to Cancer. Learning to be with the emotional discomfort that comes from being self-conscious. What does it feel like to be self-conscious? It feels vulnerable and exposed. That's what it feels like. It feels like you are exposed, right? And so Cancer's response to any discomfort, distress, vulnerability, or being exposed is to make an enemy out of the feeling rather than actually taking up space and being like, actually, y'all got me fucked up. Like how you see me as, who you see me as, what you're assigning to me ain't it. So let's just correct that real quick. But the feeling of being vulnerable and exposed in a way that makes you self-conscious becomes the enemy in and of itself. And so the question is, if we're taking, or the idea here is that if we're taking a nuanced approach to the experience of self-consciousness as a meaningful and valuable pathway to self-awareness, right? Then all forms of self-consciousness can become useful and valuable. Self-consciousness, and this goes for everybody, self-consciousness can be a signal that we are valuing the perceptions and judgments of the person we're interacting with. And then that invites some curiosity and an opportunity for us to say, is this somebody whose opinion or judgment or whatever I find valuable? Is this someone whose perceptions I want to inform my sense of self-worth? Is this someone who I value? Is this someone I like? Is this somebody I want to listen to? Right? That self-consciousness is a signal for us to check in with our relationship with the person that the self-consciousness is arising in response to. Self-consciousness, and what I mean by self-consciousness is the acute state of being aware that you are being perceived, often with the assumption that you are also being judged. So I'm defining self-consciousness as the acute experience of being aware that you are being perceived, that often comes along with the assumption that you are also being judged, right? What many of us do, especially if you're Libra sun, especially if you have Venus in the same sign as your sun, right? Especially if you have Venus in the first house, right? What most of us, many of us do is we try to conceal the fact that we are self-conscious, the fact that we are self-conscious. I got to call my dad. Oh, the fact that we are self-conscious, like you're never going to know if I'm self-conscious. It's just not going to happen unless I tell you. I'm either going to disarm you of making the assumption by just coming out and telling you like, oh my God, I'm so self-conscious right now. Or I'm such a good actress that you will never know, right? Other signs might cover it up with vibrato, right? So Aries might cover it up with vibrato. Sagittarius and Leo might cover it up with bravado, right? It's with this cultural kind of reality that being self-conscious is a weakness that can leave space for other people to take advantage of you. When it's really assigned to us, like, do I really care what this person thinks? Why am I so shook up and caring about what this person thinks? Why do I care? Do I want to care? Maybe not. Do I care? Yep. So what am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with that? Yeah, man. So that's that on that. Thank you all for joining my live. Make sure you're following me over at Psyche Self Soul. I'm going to be starting a group I'm going to be starting a coaching group for Psyche Self Soul. And we'll be digging into some of that 7 essential needs stuff. Did I say vibrato? I meant bravado. 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 Bravado is like often a false sense of self-esteem or self-worth or puffing up one's chest. You are so welcome. God willing, and the creek don't rise, this is going to be saved. And thank you so much, Photo Optics. Excuse me. You guys are so welcome. Yeah, you guys are so welcome. I'm about to do something, so just hold tight. I'm about to take a screenshot so that I can create a cover graphic. Oops. Go off the screen. There we go. Come on, why isn't it working? There we go. All right, y'all. Yeah, if y'all want to pay me, y'all can go to my Cash App. I'll type the comment real quick. You can also buy stuff from my store, and you can also book a reading from me. But I also yes, I will do my best to make this available for replay. Hopefully Instagram doesn't hate on me. Hate on me, hater. Why Jill Scott sing that song? All right. Deuces, everybody.